What up? What up? What up? Mr. Funk Dr. Spock back in the building with another episode of CT Baseball Live. Got my main man, Coach E, in the building. We
What's up,
about to...
baseball community?
Coach, what's good, my brother?
Hey man, another week's worth of games, man. I think we might have 5 games to catch up on.
Yeah, starting off with Thursday, April 17th. So let's get off into this and catch back up on a few things. Cass Tech varsity technicians claw back but fall just short against Dearborn varsity Pioneers. Despite a 9-run deficit in the fourth inning, Cass Tech varsity technicians almost came all the way back, eventually falling 9-8 to the Dearborn varsity Pioneers on Thursday. Cass Tech closed the gap by scoring on a double, a single, a double, a single, a walk, and a walk. A single by Jordan Spencer put Cass Tech on the board in the top of the first. Julian Lansing singled to right field, which helped Dearborn varsity Pioneers tie the game at 1 in the bottom of the third. Dearborn varsity Pioneers flipped the game on its head in the bottom of the fourth, scoring 9 runs on 5 hits to take the lead 10-1. The biggest blow in the inning was a single by Remy Bazzi on an 0-2 count that drove in 2. Cass Tech scored 5 runs on 4 hits in the top of the seventh inning. Spencer single scoring 1 run, Juan Torres double scoring 1 run, Chris Hooper single scoring 1 run, Jelani Jabari drew a walk scoring 1 run, and Robert Ladner drew a walk scoring 1 run. Ali Issachar earned the win for the Dearborn Varsity Pioneers. The pitcher surrendered 4 hits and 3 runs, 2 earned over 5 2/3 inning, striking out 2 and walking 1. Kyrie Kamasi took the loss for the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians. The starter went 3 1/3 innings, surrendering 5 runs on 5 hits, striking out 3 and walking 2. Torres, Hooper, and Spencer each collected 2 hits for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. Hooper went 2 for 4 at the plate and led the team with 3 runs batted in. Zion Finley singled to right field, which helped Dearborn varsity Pioneers tie the game at 1. Finley was sure-handed and didn't commit one single error. Torres made the most plays with 7. Dearborn Pioneers accumulated 10 hits in the game. Bazzi led Dearborn Varsity Pioneers with 3 runs batted in from the number 9 spot in the lineup. The right fielder went 2 for 3 on the day. And it,
So this was a game where, and this is not taking anything from Dearborn, but this was more along the lines of a game where we needed to evaluate ourselves. Could we pull this game out? Could we fight through all the adversity within the team to come out and get the victory? And we came up a little short, but we did not come up short as in the character department.
correct.
So while we ended up losing that game 9-8, some things were evident to me that this team is going to fight to the last out. And that's all you can ask of a baseball team. There were a couple of pitches that I felt could have been executed that could have changed this game. And there were a couple of things that we could have done differently to secure the win in this game, but ultimately we didn't. And but the players never relented. They kept chipping, trying to chip away into the. So for that, I tip my cap to the players, and this is one I'd like to flush, Coach.
Definitely. I really think that this is a real scrappy group and they play to the last out. So what that boils down to is when you allow the fat part of our lineup to produce runs for us, that's huge for this ball club. So when they get a chance to get the opportunity, they take advantage of it, and
Right.
that's going to be a key to their success this year.
Yeah. And so there's been a few things that I've seen that leads me to believe that this team is going to surprise some people around the state of Michigan come districts, regionals, and postseason.
Absolutely. All right, going into Friday, they had a game against Mumford.
Hold on, Coach. They play Mumford twice.
Yeah, so let's see. I'm looking at the schedule here. And yeah, so Friday.
So we played them on Tuesday, I think, and Friday, and we probably missed that Tuesday game when we were just now.
No, I have it right here. I appreciate that, Coach. That's Tuesday, April 15th.
Okay.
Got it. All right. Kyle Terry's big day prepares Cass Tech varsity technicians past the Mumford Mustangs.
That's the one.
Yes, sir. Kyle the Plug Terry drove in 4 runs on 1 hit to lead the Cass Tech varsity technicians past Mumford Mustangs 18-0 on Tuesday. Terry singled in the first inning, scoring 1 run, and walked in the first inning, scoring 1 run. The Cass Tech varsity technicians won thanks in part to 13 runs in the first inning. Terry singled, scoring 1 run. Juan Torres drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Robert Ladner grounded out, scoring 1 run. An error scored 1 run. Jordan Scott was struck by a pitch, driving in a run. Devon Juice Madison was struck by a pitch, driving in a run. Terry drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Jordan Spencer singled, scoring 2 runs. Error scored 2 runs. Ladner singled, scoring 1 run. And Emmett Mitchell II drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Cass Tech scored 5 runs on 3 hits in the bottom of the second inning. Ayers scored 2 runs. Ladner single, scoring 2 runs. And Jacob Johnson single, scoring 1 run. Mitchell II earned the win for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. The starter surrendered 2 hits and 0 runs over 3 innings, striking out 9 and walking 1. Walker took the loss for the Mumford Mustangs. The pitcher went 2 innings, giving up 18 runs, 6 earned on 6 hits, striking out 1 and walking 11. Ladner went 2 for 3 at the plate to lead the Cass Tech varsity technicians in hits. Cass Tech had patience at the plate, tallying 11 walks for the game. Torres, Johnson, and Madison led the team with 2 walks each. Mitchell II threw an immaculate inning in the second, striking out the side on 9 pitches. Torres, Mitchell II, Spencer, Madison, and Ladner each stole multiple bases for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. Cass Tech stole 14 bases in the game, and Cass Tech varsity technicians didn't commit a single error in the field. Zion Finley had the most chances in the field with 9. McCann led the Mumford Mustangs with 2 hits and 2 at-bats from the leadoff position. McCann stole 4 bases, and the Mumford Mustangs stole 5 bases in the game. Wow, that was a lot.
It was. That's one of the longest recaps. So this is a game, and Mumford historically has had some good baseball teams, but this year's version of Mumford's baseball team just simply doesn't have the players. And so you take this game with a grain of salt. Cass Tech did what they were supposed to do. On the offensive side of this game, what I'm always looking for when the pitcher is finding it difficult to throw strikes is, can an elite hitter pick the one strikeout and not miss? And so I think we did a pretty good job of that. I think we need to improve in that area, because what that translates to in more competitive games is you're only going to see one good pitch, maybe two, and you can't miss it. And so this is always a good opportunity to kind of keep your focus when the pitcher is finding it difficult to throw strikes. And we did a pretty good job. I want to see us improve in that area. There weren't many plays in the field because the ball wasn't being put in play much. And so when I look at what I take from Emmett's outing on the mound, one, the weather was horrible. So to brave the elements and be able to throw strikes in that type of cold, but ultimately I type of the players weren't on the Mumford side weren't as competitive as we would like them to be. So ultimately, you're gauging these outings on the pitching side on how many strikes did you throw? What was your strike to ball ratio? So it ends up being more like a bullpen. And but with that being said, Emmett did a really good job of throwing strikes. Always say you want to throw 60% strikes. I think he was at 66% strike ball ratio. And that's all you can ask for. If they're not swinging the bat, you just got to fill it up and move on to the next guy. And so that was this game in a nutshell. It wasn't much to see here. We just did what we were supposed to do.
Correct. So we get to Friday, April 18th, and this is another game against Mumford.
Okay.
So the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians defeat the Mumford Mustangs behind a strong performance from Robert Ladner. Robert Ladner struck out 10 batters as the starting pitcher led Cass Tech Varsity Technicians past the Mumford Mustangs 24-3 on Friday. Ladner surrendered 1 hit and 3 runs over 3 innings while walking 3. Cass Tech Varsity Technicians scored 13 runs in the first inning on the way to the victory. Kyrie Kamazi drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Kyle the Plug Terry single, scoring 1 run. Chris Hooper single, scoring 1 run. Devon Juice Madison was struck by a pitch, driving in a run. A wild pitch scored 1 run. Jaden Mobley drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Kamazi drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Terry singled, scoring 3 runs. Hooper doubled, scoring 1 run. And Jacob Johnson tripled, scoring 2 runs. 7 more Cass Tech Varsity Technicians runs scored the plate in the second inning to extend the lead to 20-0. Kamazi hit an inside the park home run, scoring 3 runs. Hooper hit a solo inside the park home run. Ladner single, scoring 1 run, and Mobley hit a sacrifice fly, scoring 2 runs. The Cass Tech Varsity Technicians added to their early lead in the top of the 3rd inning after the Mumford Mustangs committed an error. Kyle the Plug Terry singles again. Hooper triples to right field, and Ladner walked, each scoring 1 run. McCann took the loss for the Mumford Mustangs. The starting pitcher went 1 inning, allowing 13 runs on 5 hits, striking out 2 and walking 9. The Cass Tech Varsity Technicians piled up 13 hits in the game. Terry drove the middle of the lineup, leading the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians with 4 runs batted in. The shortstop went 3 for 4 on the day. Hooper led Cass Tech Varsity Technicians with 4 hits and 4 at-bats. Ladner led the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians with 3 walks. Overall, the team had a strong eye at the plate, assessing 11 walks for the game. Terry, Mobley, Madison, Braylon Griffin, Ladner, and Ben Sargent each stole multiple bases for the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians. Cass Tech stole 19 bases in the game, and the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians didn't commit a single error in the field. Griffin had the most sacrifices in the field with 9. Sanders and Woods were tough to handle back-to-back in the lineup as each drove in 1 run for the Mumford Mustangs. McCann stole 2 bases, and the Mumford Mustangs ran wild on the base paths, accumulating 5 stolen bases for the game.
So, on the offensive side, we saw Cass Tech make the adjustment and drive in more runs by not missing the one strike that they got in each at bat. This was another game where there were a lot of walks and a lot of balls thrown on the Mumford side. But we were more aggressive in game two than we were in game one, driving in runs and picking out the one strike that we would see and not missing it.
Right.
And the score was indicative of that. On the defensive side, again, when you're facing a team that is not as competitive as you would like for them to be, and they are not swinging the bat as much as you would like for them to, you gauge the pitch and performance based on the ball strike ratio, because you're not getting a lot of swing. So for that, Robert threw 70 pitches. He threw 37 strikes. That's about 51%. You want your guy to be somewhere between 58 to 60%. And so we want to improve in that area. The velo was there, and when he was painting his corners, he was very effective. And we know that the talent is there. We definitely know that the velo and the arm talent is there. We want to get that strike ball ratio up to 58 to 60%. And then we're talking about some dominant performances in the future from Robert.
Yeah, just
But
consistency and, him coming into the role his junior year, going into his senior year. So it's definitely just going to be that consistency.
yeah, absolutely. And another thing that sticks out is that Kyle is driving in a lot of runs. So we probably need to be on the lookout for some. We probably want to be on the lookout for maybe some record-setting numbers in that area. Maybe at least within the school's history. So if we can uncover what those numbers look like, maybe we can start to follow this a little closer.
Yeah, the reality is that this is a generational talent. Um,
Hmm.
and he has consistently proven by the numbers that he is the leader of this team. And not only he does it on the field, but as well as in the classroom. So it's just one of those things to where he's just a shut up and play baseball type of guy. And, he's just a special guy. And he's a key plug to this team.
Yeah, and those RBIs are piling up, so that might be something to monitor.
Yes, yes. Consistency is what it is. And he's definitely locked in and loaded. So we heading into our Saturday matchup with the John Glenn Rockets. Jelani Jabari puts on strong contact performance as Cass Tech varsity technicians take the win over the John Glenn Rockets. Jelani Jabari collected 3 hits and 4 at bats as Cass Tech varsity technicians defeated the John Glenn Rockets 14-3 on Saturday. Jabari tripled in the first inning, tripled in the fifth inning, and singled in the first inning. The Cass Tech varsity technicians scored 10 runs in the first inning on the way to the victory. Kyle the Plug Terry singled, scoring 1 run. Chris Hooper drew a walk, scoring 1 run. Juan Torres was struck by a pitch, driving in a run. Devon Juice Madison hit a sacrifice fly, scoring 1 run. Zion Finley singled, scoring 1 run. Jabari tripled, scoring 2 runs. Air scored 1 run. Kyle the Plug Terry doubled, scoring 1 run, and an error scored 1 run. An error extended the Cass Tech varsity technicians' lead to 11-1 in the top of the second inning. Torres earned the win for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. The starting pitcher surrendered 7 hits and 3 runs over 4 innings, striking out 3 and walking none. Justice took the loss for the John Glenn Rockets. The starting pitcher went 2/3 of an inning, allowing 10 runs, 7 earned on 6 hits, striking out none and walking 2. Hooper threw one inning of scoreless ball for the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians in relief. The reliever allowed one hit, striking out two, and, and walking none. The Cass Tech Varsity Technicians collected 13 hits in the game. Terry drove the middle of the lineup, leading the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians with 4 runs batted in. The switch hitter went 3 for 4 on the day. Terry and Jabari each collected 3 hits for the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians. Finley and Hooper each collected multiple hits for the Cass Tech Varsity Technicians. Kyrie Kamasi stole 2 bases. Cass Tech stole 5 bases in the game, and the Cass Technicians turned one double play in the game. Cass Tech were sure-handed in the field and didn't commit a single error. Finley had the most chances in the field with 4. Leadoff hitter McLeod led John Glenn Rockets with 3 hits and 3 at-bats.
So first I'll talk about John Glenn. They surprisingly put the bat on the ball consistently. Now I tip my cap to Juan because Juan kept them off balance and Juan got the win. But they were barreling the baseball. We played very good defense in that game because they put the ball in play consistently. And surprisingly, I had no idea. But and we will talk about in game 2, they continued to put the ball in play. And not as much as they did in game 1, but we'll talk about that. But so Juan has had 2 outings where he has pitched very, very well. He is starting to emerge as an arm that we can count on in big games.
Absolutely.
Kyle drives in another 4 runs. And so, like I said, I think that's something to monitor because he's starting to compile a lot of RBIs early in the season. We had a lot of games to play. So that's something else to talk about. And our leadoff hitter, he has been on fire. Jelani Jabbar. He has been on fire. He's been barreling the ball up at a very high rate, and he has been hitting the ball hard. And so those are 3 things that I took from that game. And we beat them 10-3 or something like that, or whatever it was. But they put the ball in play a lot. And that leadoff hitter that they have, he hit the stew out of the baseball in game. So it was competitive enough. The score may not indicate it, but the game was more competitive than what the score indicates. And we needed that game and those 13 hits to wake the bats up. We had been scoring runs, but we hadn't been stringing together innings with 5, 6, 7 hits. And today was that day, and their pitching they weren't pushing. So we played Cass Tech baseball for a change and put up some runs by hitting the baseball and driving runs in. And I think this game we may have turned the corner in regards to the direction that we want to go in with.
There has been a major improvement in the 1 and 2 spots in this lineup.
Yep.
There were some question marks about that coming into the season, and there were some question marks on where particular returners were going to be in this lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the solid performance at the leadoff spot from Jabari, last year he was a 300 hitter at that spot, and he's continuing to show the reason why he's in that leadoff spot. I mean, the baseball looks like a beach ball to him right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about he hit some missiles.
Yep.
Kamazi has been solid in the 2 spot for us. Our 3, 4, 5, and 6 hitters are explosive, and it's just amazing to see this group of guys just continue to produce at a high level, especially with runners in scoring position.
That's right. Yep. I 100% agree with that. So we had a doubleheader on Saturday, so we had to play John Glenn twice. We had to prove it twice.
Yes, sir. And John Glenn is a very good hitting team. They adjusted to a lot of different things. Torres kept them off balance really well in this game. And it was amazing to see how they adjusted and went to choking and poking and just was finding the holes and just spray hitting. And it was just pretty to see. It was impressive, coach.
Yeah, I was im- impressed with their ability to put the bat on the ball,
Right.
and that's all I can say about it. But it was they were competitive at the plate.
Yes. Um, the Cass Tech varsity technicians defeat the John Glenn Rockets behind a strong performance from Kyle the Plug Terry. Kyle the Plug Terry struck out 11 batters as the righty-led Cass Tech varsity technicians passed the John Glenn Rockets 10-2 on Saturday. Terry allowed 2 hits and 2 runs over 6 innings while walking none. John Glenn Rockets opened the scoring in the first after an error scored 1 run. Zion Finley was struck by a pitch which helped Cass Tech varsity technicians tie the game at 1 in the top of the second. In the top of the third, the Cass Tech varsity technicians broke up the tie when Terry hit a sacrifice fly, scoring 1 run. Then a wild pitch fouled to extend the lead to 3-1. Volofish took the loss for the John Glenn Rockets. The hurler went 3 and 2/3 innings, allowing 6 runs, 3 earned, and 6 hits, striking out 2 and walking 6. Jordan Spencer pitched 1 inning of 0 run ball for the Cass Tech varsity technicians in relief. The reliever allowed 0 hits, striking out 3 and walking none. The Cass Tech varsity technicians tallied 9 hits in the game. Jacob Johnson and Kyrie Kamasi each collected 2 hits for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. Terry and Kamasi were tough to handle back to back in the lineup as each drove in 2 runs for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. Chris Hooper paced Cass Tech varsity technicians with 2 walks. Overall, the team had patience at the plate, tallying 7 walks in the game. Kamazi, Hooper, and Emmett Mitchell II each stole multiple bases for the Cass Tech varsity technicians. The Cass Tech varsity technicians ran wild on the base paths, accumulating 9 stolen bases for the game. McLeod and Diaz each collected 1 hit for the John Glenn Rockets, and the John Glenn Rockets turned 2 double plays in the game.
So in this game, Kyle was able to impose his will on their batting line. He had them off balance with his curveball, and the hitters that he was able to see from the defensive side in game one. He had an approach as to how he wanted to pitch them, and so that leadoff hitter might have gotten 1 hit, but they were held at bay in game two. I think Kyle's velo was a tad bit overpowering for them, and it showed that if you can keep them off balance with a good mix between off speed and velo, that they weren't as strong at the plate as they were in game one. So they only had 2 hits. They hit more balls than that well. We just played some good defense. We went back on some baseballs. They had some deep flyouts, but that's baseball. The job is to get outs, and that's what we did. On the offensive side, you got Kyle having another 2 runs driven in. I think, like I said, it's going to be something to monitor. And
Yeah, he
we
had
had a
11
few.
strikeouts in the game.
Yep, absolutely. He did. Yep, the 11 punch outs. And but now we're sneaking up on like 20 ribbies now.
Yeah.
So I want to say the well, I don't want to put any arbitrary numbers out. I'm gonna take a look at a few things, and then I will talk about it on the next episode. So I don't want to throw that arbitrary out there right now. But the bottom of the lineup hit well, and again, the bats are waking up on this team, a team that already plays very good defense and has very good pitching. My expectation is that we're going to have some really good games this week. We play on Tuesday, Friday, and then we have a matchup against Western next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think the key for Kyle was that he was able to throw his slider for a first pitch strike. I
Mhm.
thought that he was very methodical in the rotation that he threw. Um, he looked really good on the mound. He looked really fluent, and it was just one of these things to where he overpowered him with the fastball when he needed to, and his second and third pitches were working really well.
Mhm.
So going into this week, like you were saying, we have a matchup tomorrow. Uh, that's the 22nd, Tuesday. We playing Renaissance, supposed to be away. Friday, the 25th, we have a game at home against the Oak Park Varsity Knights. And then Tuesday, the 29th, we will be playing our second matchup against Western International.
Yeah. The expectation is that the Renaissance and Oak Park games are games that we are supposed to win on paper. And I think our focus needs to be picking out that one good pitch and throwing strikes, and then having some good practices leading up into next Tuesday in that matchup number two against. So I'm I'm encouraged by how much we gave Western and still kept that game close. We minimize our mistakes on the base paths and do the things that we're supposed to do offensively. And I'm confident that we can win that base.
Absolutely. The key to any matchup of this caliber is good pitching and defense. The offense will come, but when you consistently have good pitching and play great defense, you will be in any ball game.
Absolutely.
So that'll wrap it up for this week. It's always a pleasure, Coach, having you on, and we will be in touch with you all very, very soon. Thank you for chiming in. Please like, share our content, and please subscribe to CT Baseball Live. That's our YouTube channel. And we thank you for coming out and have an abundantly blessed day. Peace.